Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 7. We are so glad you're here. Welcome, Elise.
Good morning. How are
Good
you?
morning. Good morning. We've been through a lot so far. Episode 7 means that we've been through a lot of powerful concepts, and we just thought that we can actually summarize it very quickly because we started the whole Thought Leaders Thursday with vision. Where are you guys going? What's the vision of the company? What's the vision for your own personal life? What's the vision for the team? And that is a very important starting point, because without it, like, everything else is not going to happen. And lesson number 2 was really about understanding the knowing doing gap. So understanding that you might have a vision and that's what you want to do, but there's still kind of an obstacle in the middle that prevents you to do it. And we realized that it was really about the operating system of your mind and the paradigms that are blocking you to really accomplish that. And then we really went into a little bit more deeper into how the mind works and really explaining the conscious, the subconscious mind, and how is that creating the results. And then you also had the faculties of the mind that you can use to go through any obstacles in your business and in your life. And last session was all about the self-image and how your internal narrative and how you see yourself really reflects your results. So today is episode 7, and Elise is going to introduce you to this concept. Very important as well.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks, Francis. So this is such an exciting lesson and conversation, because this is where the rubber hits the road. This is where change starts to happen. And as Francis says, it's a culmination of everything we've been discussing. And once we understand exactly what process we go through to get this change, it really helps know what's going to happen and prepare you for that change. So we all know the comfort zone is not where, like, nothing good happens in the comfort zone. That's when we're doing more of the same. And when we want to stretch ourselves to go beyond, when we want to stretch ourselves to reach those C-type goals, a lot of change needs to happen. And that's where the terror barrier comes in. So Bob Proctor often spoke about the terror barrier and what happens internally when you're making these changes. So today we're going to take you through a step-by-step of how it shows up in your life and what you can expect. So when you're faced with it, you know exactly that these are signs that you're doing the right thing, and how exactly you can push through it so that you can ultimately get to those goals that you're going after.
I love it, because really fear is what's holding us back most of the time, right? So just understanding where it's coming from, I believe that will enlighten a lot of the people watching, and really understanding that it's not that complicated, and every time that it shows up, I'll know what to do with it. So let's start with step number 1 of the psychological steps towards what we call freedom, really the territory where you want to go, the results you want to achieve. So let's do it.
Okay, so firstly, in our comfort zone, everything's kind of aligned. That's where you're comfortable, right? We all know that we've seen this thick person before, right? So that the top half of that kind of head is the conscious mind. That's the actual kind of analytical thinking that you're going through every day. The second part is your subconscious. And at the moment, it's all aligned, right? You're thinking about this things, you're emotionally involved in your subconscious mind, and everything is just like, it's in equilibrium. It's in your comfort zone. You're doing the same thing over and over again. And some people talk about that's your bondage, right? That's where where your limitations are. And if we want to start going for these big goals, we need to get out of the comfort zone. We know people always say, what you really want in your life is outside of the comfort zone. Everything you really want is outside of the comfort zone, beyond that fear. And today we want to talk about getting out of the comfort zone and what it takes to get out of there. So as we see, the bondage in the comfort zone is where everything is aligned, but we need to get out of that. So let's quickly go to the next slide and see what starts to happen when you start thinking these big ideas.
Absolutely, and I like the fact that it's called bondage, because we don't realize that if we don't change, if we stay the same, it's going to be a predictable future, and usually the predictable future is not what we want. So we're kind of in bondage without even knowing that there's nothing that's going to really be created, or nothing's going to change until we are actually going to the next step. And it's still not the freedom zone, but it's important to know that once we have an idea, and that's why many people have an idea and it kind of phases away, because they're all excited in their conscious mind only about a new idea that they entertain. But it's only in a conscious mind. And so it's almost like, when I'm thinking about affirmations, you can say, I'm power, I'm power. But if you're saying it without even being emotionally involved with it, which is really in your subconscious mind, which is the autopilot, this is really what your body believes is true, then nothing's going to change. That's what we just said. Nothing changes until you internalize and get emotionally involved with the idea. So you can daydream about something and say, oh yeah, would it be nice, this and that, but you don't really firmly believe it, and that's why nothing is changing.
Absolutely. And I think that's why so many ideas go nowhere, right? As you said, because you're thinking about it and then you kind of go, oh well, and then you're not getting excited enough about it, or you're finding then excuses why not, right? And I think procrastination is often where this phase of change happens, where you're starting to think about things, but you're not taking action, right? So the next step, so once you've started thinking about where you want to go, you need to start internalizing that, right? So last time we spoke about how do you impress something on your subconscious mind. We know that repetition is necessary, and we know that emotions are necessary. And this is where you need to start writing out your goal every day, and you need to repeat it. And we spoke about the self-image. You need to know who you need to become for that goal to become a reality. And once you've, gone through that process of rehearsing it over and over again, we spoke about the actor's technique, right? You need to know the script. You need to become the script. You need to become that character, right? And that's when these changes start to happen, because that's when it starts getting impressed on your subconscious mind. But now you're out of alignment, right? Because you're used to being in like the X type vibration like we have on the screen, but now the Y kind of vibration is coming into your life, and you're kind of going, this is feeling uneasy, right? So in your conscious mind, it looks like fear and doubt. You're kind of starting to go, am I expecting too much? Can I really do this? And it becomes fear in your subconscious mind, and your body will express that as anxiety. Now, I bet we've all done good things in our lives. We've all stretched ourselves during our life, and we know what this feels like, right? That knot in your stomach, that worry, like, can I do this? Am I thinking too big? Is it worth the effort? I mean, often we tell ourselves, oh, it's not worth it. Let me just stick to what I have. And that's always the risk, right? Because if you give in to this anxiety and this fear, you're just going to go back to where you were in your comfort zone. You're going to let go of all your great ideas, and you're going to go back to your comfort zone. And that is the big risk. That is this kind of, we call it the terror barrier. It's this kind of wall that comes in front of you where you need to either break through it if you want to get to the other side. And the risk here is that when this fear strikes, that you just bounce off of the terror barrier and you go back into the comfort zone. And we know that we need to get through this terror barrier if we really want to get to the other side and get everything we really want.
Yeah, and it's so important. Just that we can stop for a moment and really take a look at the terror barrier, in the sense of, when we start to feel something in our own body that says, that it's just a sensation that's a conflict. We just know that there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually very normal, because you just entertained a new idea that was in conflict with your subconscious mind. And so it's not a sign that you shouldn't go through it. It's actually, or stop. It's a sign that you're just about to make a breakthrough. And this is absolutely normal that you have a conflict. And, questions that we can ask to the people right now is, which mindset blocks do you feel the most right now? Is that a fear of failure? Is that self-doubt? Overthinking, fear of success? Because when you introduce a new idea, it could be buying a new house or starting a new business and leave your job, and then as soon as you leave your job, now the fear strikes and it's saying, oh, what if I fail? What if the business fails? And that's just absolutely normal that these thoughts are now being entertained, because the familiarity is being questioned right now. We're becoming someone new. This is a new territory. We haven't lived in that territory at all, and our mind, the subconscious mind, just wants to keep us safe and just say, no, don't even go that way. That's fine. Like, are you sure you want to get into that new territory? This is scary. I don't know. This is the unknown. But in order to create something new, we have to be in the unknown. And one of my affirmations that I love to say every day is, I love the unknown. The unknown is my friend and I love it. The unknown is my friend and I love it, because it's required. It's really absolutely required. Otherwise, I'm just going to live a life in bondage, and I'm just going to face this conflict and say, you know what, the anxiety, there's anxiety, that must be not good, so I'm just going to go back to what? I'm going to go back to my familiarity, the X-type vibration, the X-type thinking, and I'm going to have X-type results. So if I do want something new, it's going to happen, and it's absolutely normal.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying here, because I think the awareness of this fear, of this dis-ease, is so important, because I think so often we feel discomfort, we feel anxious and worried, and we rationalize to ourselves that something's wrong, that we shouldn't be doing this. And we're here to tell you it's almost the exact opposite. So if you're feeling this anxiety, firstly, it's normal. And secondly, it means you're doing it right. It means that you're moving in the right direction. And once you know that this is it's almost one of the final steps before your major breakthrough, you're going to start embracing it, right? You're going to be like, this is a sign of me growing. This is a sign of me getting closer to my goals. And I think once you have that awareness, it's almost like you're going, oh, this is great, right? This is a good sign. And then you respond so much better to it. So we're here to tell you that fear is a good thing, and it means that you're moving in the right direction.
Absolutely, and I think you even have some stories. I know that I have one I just shared with you before the recording, that and the stream, that we are basically always kind of facing new things to do. And when we're facing new things to do, I saw my mind fighting. Like my own little story was, I'm creating a new business, and I had to go into the technical aspect of creating a new domain name and associated with another technology. And I remember that my business partner was just saying, okay, this is what we have to do. And immediately I had this pressure in my mind, like real physical pressure in my mind, thinking about, I don't even know what to ask to this custom domain name company. I have to connect them to each other. And first off, I don't even know what to ask to both of them. So I'm the bridge, but I don't know what to ask. So I'm going step by step, and I'm thinking, now I'm overthinking. I have a fear it's not going to work. I'm fearing it's going to take too much time. I'm busy. I have other things to do. And it was not pleasant, really not pleasant. But what I decided to do is, okay, so one step at a time, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to just go ask this question. I'm going to get a feedback after that. And then it's going to let me to know if I'm in the right directions or not. And then eventually I started to know what to ask. And it took me kind of a couple hours really to go through the whole process, to a point where, I just picked up the phone and I called the company. I don't understand now. Like, what am I supposed to do? And then all of a sudden, like, things were fixed. And the interesting part is that I had to do the exact same thing yesterday, and I did it in about half an hour, which astonished me. And first off, it's just because the repetition that happened was just recent. But the point is that I didn't even have this fear, this body feeling in my mind that this is going to be difficult. I just did it so fast that I realized, wow, this is a great example for me to know that, of course, there's going to be resistance in the beginning. And if you go through the resistance, it's really what you need to go through. Another example that comes to my mind was 10-day silent meditation in your previous country, South Africa. And 10 days silent, like, there's a lot of resistance to that. And I had pain in my body. And one of the things that I started to do is observe, instead of taking it personal, but really observe the sensations that are happening. And I think that's something that people can do, instead of really embodying all the emotions that you have. Kind of observe what's happening instead. It takes some awareness. And once you observe it, as if you're in a lab, actually shared something like that to my client yesterday. I said, what if we can just take a look at what's happening as if we're looking at it as an experience? This is your lab. This is what's happening. We're observing it. That detachment provides so much more better feeling of well-being, or at least a feeling of being in control, because we're not being controlled by the external circumstances. We're actually observing it. And just that is helping us to go through it with a lot more wisdom.
That's so true. And I think that idea of becoming objective, almost removing yourself from the situation. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about becoming the observer, right? And I think when you can get yourself out of that emotional situation that you're in and look at it as an outsider, it gives you such incredible perspective, right? And I feel like you were talking about, avoiding things that are hard. And I often say to people, like, procrastination is often telling you that you're trying to avoid something, right? And once you actually do it, you realize that you wasted way more time procrastinating and thinking about this thing than actually doing it, right? And often the taking action is such a good way to get rid of that unease, because we replay these things and we replay these things in our minds, and we think about everything that can go wrong. And the point is that you actually don't know until you're in it. So we need to start taking action. It builds motivation. It builds like a sense of confidence that you're taking action and doing the right things. And as you say, once you're doing it, you're like, hey, it was actually easier than I expected. Or like, I have the resources near me that can help me, like your example. I was speaking to a client the other day who is a leader in like a tech company, and he wants to improve his public speaking. So he needs to speak to the board, and he needs to, he's very kind of proactive around building a good culture in his organization. But he feels uneasy about standing up in front of people. And we've been working a lot around this. And we all know once you're doing something that feels uneasy, again, like that internal self-talk is often like this narrative that you create for yourself. And we create our reality through what we're thinking, right? Everything we've been speaking about. And I said to him, just try and observe what you're thinking when you're actually standing up for this presentation. Like, what are you saying to yourself? And then we uncovered it was all about, what do people think about me? I mean, earlier you were asking, what are the blocks holding us back? His was, do they like me? What do they think? Are they criticizing me? And we're so busy focused on what they think about me that you're actually not delivering your message. And what he then did is we tried to shift that mindset. So we then focus on when you stand up in front of people, instead of worrying about what they think about you, how about focusing on serving? How about focusing on sharing knowledge so people can care about them, and that transparency is important, that you want them to do good work so that you can serve your clients better. And once that mind shift happened, he was so much more comfortable stepping up in front of people. And sure, it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't go from like black to white overnight, but it's improved so much over time. And now he looks forward to presenting. He's actually created a new goal where he wants to become a TEDx speaker. So imagine going from someone who was scared to present to his board to someone who actually wants to stand up in front of the world and be recorded and be on YouTube and do a TEDx talk. So, it's about taking those small incremental changes and embracing this discomfort. And then seeing like where you can go from there, right? And some people even say it almost becomes a game, because you know that this process is going to happen, and having this almost playful mindset around, hey, like, I've got so much potential. What can I do next? I feel the fear, but I'm almost like playing with it, like I see you and I'm not going to let you get the better of me. I mean, what a great attitude to have towards that. And we all know it's about growth, right? And once you have this different mindset around growth, it completely changes the process you go through.
So much gold in what you're saying. And I was just thinking about couple things. One, in terms of public speaking, I think you're talking about also you help him to reframe. And I love the reframing about serving, because serving is also applicable to any salespeople here watching. Why do I don't like to sell? If you're seeing yourself as a peddler or someone that's asking and really trying to convince, as opposed to be convinced. There's a difference of being convincing or being convinced. And if you're serving because you truly want to help, and there's a calling in you about that, then the conversation is a whole different. Like, it's really, who am I being right now? So when you're reframing it as serving my audience, and I like to say I've done so much communication courses, and I actually even taught some to a college at one point. And the thing that the people that were afraid were exactly like this. It was about what they're thinking, and also going blank. And one of the things that I would say to them is, can you go blank on the story? If you're telling a story to anyone, and the trick was really having a conversation, the cocktail party test, as opposed to say, there was a time in 2010 at X, and you're like, well, where was I? Like, you're too much in your head. Like, if you're really in your heart and you tell your story to a friend, you're never going to forget. And so all of a sudden, just with that little shift, that little reframe, I saw some people telling an amazing story, and people were like, wow, that was so good. Why? Because they were actually not even overthinking it. They were just in their heart, happy and excited to share a story that they thought was meaningful for the audience. If you could even reframe it in a way that's, if it was your last message, and if what you're saying could be summarized in 3 points, what would you say? Like, what's important for the audience to remember? What's the takeaway? What's the giveaway that you're giving? And so in that sense, all of a sudden, it's so much easier, because you're not even concerned about you. You're really more concerned about the people in front of you, or you want to serve and you want to give. And the other thing that I was thinking is, as a quick and great trick by Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule. So if you're not familiar with it, instead of saying, okay, I'm going to start in 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you're like, I'm not ready yet. 6, 7. What am I thinking? Oh, what is going to happen? And then all of a sudden your brain is now involved, thinking about all the ways that it could go wrong. And I know this because I've done that in the cliff jumping, and I waited way more than 5 seconds, and my legs were shaking, and it was even harder. It was torture for a minute or two, as opposed to the 5 seconds rule. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then you jump. Like, that's really how you do it. And all of a sudden, the countdown is helping you to just go for it. And you could be picking up the phone. Just, I need to talk to my prospect. 5, 4, 3, and you just pick up the phone and you do it. And then it's dialed. And so all of a sudden, you have to do it. And so it's interesting how the mind works. And there's beautiful tricks that we can use to actually just transcend that fear. And at the end of the day, it's just kind of saying, just do it anyway. Do it anyway, because like you said, Elise, that shows that there's a breakthrough that's on the other side. That shows that actually you're just about to enter in a new zone called freedom. And the freedom, by the way, which is really interesting, is as soon as you have your why idea, and let's say you are in that freedom zone, that doesn't mean that fear is actually gone. It's actually still there. There's still that kind of the feeling, but you, with understanding and study and impressing a new idea, eventually it's going to feel comfortable. It's going to feel familiar. And guess what? Now this why idea is going to become your new bondage. You're going to have to, next goal you're going to have is going to create the exact same thing. So if you've been able to double your revenue this year, grow your business like that, and now you're thinking about 10x, you're just going to feel the same exact feelings in your body. There's going to be a conflict. And if you just entertain the idea, it's just going to be a reason. But if you have that terror barrier, it's a good sign. It's a good sign that you're growing, and you're going to get into a new territory by, again, impressing this idea in your subconscious mind, doing the actor's technique, being that person. Who do I need to become in order to achieve my goal? And that's exactly how it's going to happen.
Absolutely. And it's so great to see this picture and kind of know exactly what to expect, and that it's a good thing, right? So I love this quote that says, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. To embrace that fear, embrace that discomfort, because you know that it's on the other side of that fear is exactly what you're looking for. So earlier we asked you some questions around what is holding you back? And I challenge you to take a piece of paper and think about that. What am I fearing right now? What is holding me back? And once you know that, what bold move I've been avoiding? And challenge yourself. Do the 5-second rule. Decide when you're going to do it and just get it done. There is so much freedom and so much confidence that comes from showing up for yourself, because you're proving to yourself that you're willing to do what it takes. You have what it takes. And those confidence building steps help you so much to build it over time. So, what bold move are you avoiding? And next time we speak to you, I hope you can tell us that you've done it.
Absolutely. And yeah, just what's the bold move? And it doesn't need to be a big move, just a something that you haven't done before. Start small and see where you're going, because then it's going to give you the confidence to even make even bigger bold move. It's just making that first step that's really important. So the key takeaways today, very simple. Fear is a signpost. This is actually telling you that you're on the right path, and your subconscious runs the show. So if you feel that conflict, it's normal. It's just because you haven't been familiar in a new territory, and you have to impress this new idea more than in your conscious mind, but really in your subconscious mind, so that you're going to start to feel more at ease, and it's going to start to accelerate in your life, as opposed to feeling suppressed and depressed. And it's kind of a disease of the mind, really, to let the fear win instead of you controlling and say, hey, you know what? This goal, this vision matters to me so much. I'm choosing to be emotionally involved in my new idea because I know that it's going to change my world, it's going to change my team, it's going to change my business, and that matters to me. So comfort is not progress. The results you've accepted, it's just a bondage that you've had in a familiar thinking, a way of thinking that now you need to change. And just the fact that you understand that these emotional, psychological steps that are happening, I feel, is giving you so much more power, because you're just not gonna feel like you're weird, or I don't know what's happening, and now I'm just gonna default back to what I know is familiar. You just understand that it's absolutely normal to have these emotions, and the process helps you to now, with understanding, go in freedom, really the courage to create freedom. And I love this quote from Bob Proctor. He said, the greatest hazard in life is to risk nothing. If you risk nothing, you're going nowhere.
Isn't that a scary thought?
Yeah.
But love that, and thank you so much. And remember, you can reach out to us anytime if you want to talk through what you're feeling, what's happening, and just want to share some thoughts and ideas. We're here to connect with you and to support you in any way you need. So we have our QR codes for our calendar links. And yeah, I challenge you to go and do that thing. Show up for yourself. Go and take that action step. Build the motivation. And that's when the momentum builds in your life. So go and do what you know you need to. And we're getting one step closer to reaching those goals. So thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Absolutely. And remember, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bold move. Let's go. See you guys.